The Fagel collection is an incredible portal for early modern scholars. What I value the most is having the opportunity of having them together and as part of a collection. And I have chosen an example that can illustrate that point. So what we have here is a book documenting the funerary ceremony for Frederik Hendrik, the stadtholder and Prince of Orange in the Dutch Republic. And what the book does is it shows, in this case, the procession of the body leaving The Hague, going to Delft, where it was going to be buried. And this type of literature depicts the different attendants. But not only that, it shows the way and the order in which the procession proceeds. Hendrik died in 1647, and the publication came out in 1651. In this particular case, the book was commissioned to Peter Post, who was the architect to the stadtholder. And I think this is really interesting because the architect was often in charge not only of public and private commissions, but also in orchestrating and building the structures necessary for this type of events. And on top of that, they were in charge of preparing the publication of the event. And this is something that expands the scope of architects in the early modern period. So I have here chosen another one, which I think is quite relevant. This is the ceremony of the governor of the Spanish Netherlands, Albrecht VII, and it's a Habsburg president. And we can see how lavish and elaborate this was. And so here we have a very strong religious content, while there we have a more civic or non-religious display. The Dutch Republic is formed against that type of government, and so is symbolically charged to represent a different type of government. This is just an example when I'm placing together two similar publications, and all the insight we can get through looking at them and comparing them at what is going on in Europe in the early modern period.
As in so many topics, the Fagel collection is enormously rich architecturally. What it's really good on is giving information about what cities look like, about what buildings look like, about what gardens look like, and in particular about what ephemeral urban decorations and celebratory edifices, temporary celebratory edifices look like. Well, among the really thrilling contents in an architectural sense of the Fagel collection is this collection of 30 or 35 drawings of the palaces and gardens of St. Petersburg, discovered about 20, 30 years ago, uncatalogued, and when the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg heard of them, they rushed over and looked at them and published them in facsimile. Now, as an example, here we have one of the large drawings. Many of them are very large, up to 8 feet long, coloured, beautifully executed. The palace here, with this immense forecourt, and here the Nevsky Prospect, and the palace faces onto the canal. The entire estate is divided in two by a solid wall lined with trees. This, the more formally gardened part. Here on the other side you have a kitchen block, you have stables, you have offices and residences for staff. And here in grey, you see the grey stripes surrounding a pool. I suspect that they are greenhouses. Consider the climate in St. Petersburg. Consider the fact that coffee plants, pineapples, exotic fruits could be cultivated. They needed glass, and I suspect that these grey, featureless elements there must be greenhouses in the more pedestrian part rather than the ornamental part of the garden. Again, it's information rather than theory. It's information coming back to Europe of what's happening in the wonderful cosmopolitan architectural centres of Europe.